now that you're Muslim for quite a bit of time, what's one thing that you found that's like super special about Islam that makes you love it even more?
I guess for me, it was the fact that there's an answer for everything out there, right? So not only the big, existential questions like why am I here, where am I going, but even the everyday, day-to-day questions that you might have, right? Islam teaches you how to treat other people, right? How do you engage in relationships with your spouse, with your parents, etc. Not only that, Islam really helps you fight adversity as well, right? So the whole idea of qadr, right, and believing in, predestination, everything's predetermined, right? So for me, I guess that was something that really stood out and made me love Islam even more because, no matter what happens, right, everything's already, predestined to happen, right? So I can't be mad at the decision made by the Creator, right? Because the Creator always is going to make the best decision. So for me, Islam answered all my questions, gave me a base framework for life, and yeah, I guess no other religion could give me that. So I guess that was like the most appealing aspect of Islam that I learned, and I love after converting.
So one of the things that I find very beautiful about Islam, and I think that I rely on quite a bit, quite often, is the fact that I think in no other situation or no other individual can lay claim to the point that they have being an entity, a person that they're able to completely and wholly rely upon and depend upon in all circumstances. Happy, sad, angry, any situation, any circumstance that you fall upon in your life, you always have the ability to talk to Allah, rely upon Allah, look for answers from Allah. And it doesn't have to be in any special place or any special time. It can be at all times of the day. And I was one to not believe in the supernatural. I used to not believe in anything outside of the physical world. So it was hard to find meaning in this case. So I think a big point of the fact that now I believe in it was the fact that I had experienced it myself, right? So being able to actually experience something non-physical, actually experience the calmness that Allah can give you in certain scenarios, I think that's a really, really beautiful thing.
I really love your answer right now, because especially the part about predestination, whenever someone asks me how are you, I say good, because everything's going according to plan, but it's not my plan, right?
I agree.
Next question. This is kind of like advice for the IIC, basically. What kind of support helped you when you were new to Islam?
I guess just how welcoming everyone was, right? So I remember when I first came on campus after reverting, I met a bunch of brothers and then they got me connected with everyone in the community, right? And I think that, the IIC did a really good job with that, right? Because the thing is, when you revert and you don't have that many Muslim friends around you, it's really, scary in a way, right? Like you don't have anyone to keep you on your deen or anything. You don't have anyone to answer your questions. Just hang around with people who, all have the same goal of, worshiping Allah, right? So I feel like the IIC did a really good job of connecting me with everyone, welcoming me, getting me started, giving me, Arabic lessons, etc., weekly halakas. And I see the support has been really immense, and I feel like that's a big part of, me staying on my deen so much now. And I feel like, having that community around you is only gonna, make you, work harder and connect yourself more with Allah.
Before this, just one thing. Just one thing. The QR code up there is a Q&A form. If you guys want to ask any questions, these guys here, you can fill it out. And could someone send me the responses if you also think?
Yeah, I think definitely the community is a huge thing. And I would like to place special focus on the individuals that put a lot of effort or make it a big focus I had tons of questions in the beginning, and I think we all have tons of questions in the beginning, so we rely upon those that can be in constant contact with us. Obviously, there's like a resource issue of having like shield that you can constantly be in contact with, so often we rely on those around us to be able to answer those maybe simpler questions that we have. So definitely the individuals who focus on educating themselves and then utilizing that education to help teach at that beginning stage especially is a huge thing, as well as the fact that, you know, the individuals who are very strong in the Quran, and they make sure that my Quran is, or they check up on me on my Quran, or they're extremely strong in their knowledge or their studies, and they'll check up on how my studies are doing. That's a really important thing as well, I believe.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I think just kind of echoing the same idea, like community is super important. When I reverted, I had the support of like, I guess the IIC equivalent at U Ottawa. And I guess one more like really specific thing is like Ramadan is a pretty lonely time for reverts, so like more kind of like community events, like at the masjid or at the university are obviously really welcomed.
I definitely agree with the importance of community, especially for new reverts. When I first reverted, I was living with my parents. I was 16 in high school. I had no Muslim friends besides who's now my husband, which was a complicated relationship at the time. So I had his family support and not my own parents' support, which made it really tough. So alhamdulillah, when I did come to Waterloo, I did have to make the effort and go to MSA events. And alhamdulillah, like the community here has been so welcoming, and I don't know where I'd be without them, honestly.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, guys, for all your questions. We're going to be moving on to the Q&A session now, so if you haven't filled out the QR code, then go ahead and do that right now. We're going to be looking at your responses, inshallah. Okay, so one of the questions that somebody has is how do you go about learning more about Islam? Like, I know you guys talked about a little bit about like what was there for you, but like in terms of resources, like for example, like if you're learning Arabic, like for the Quran, like how do you go about, like what resources are there and how do you go about doing that, inshallah?
Yeah, great question. So I think now in like our era of technology, alhamdulillah, there's so many resources. So like YouTube is a big one. So there's so many like channels, and it's obviously free, about like introduction to like pronunciation of like Arabic letters for beginners, and then you kind of build all the way up to like tajweed rules and all of that, along with kind of general like Islamic information, Islamic history. There's also like apps, like for example, when I was learning how to pray, it was kind of like self-taught through like an app called Namaz app, not a sponsor, but really helped me a lot, and it kind of has like everything you need, like the step-by-step for each step of the prayer, and also like transliteration of the Arabic for those who aren't able to read yet, and yeah.
YouTube was a big resource for me as well as like just asking people if they knew. I find like I learn better from in person, so I was able to, for Quran lessons, I was able to reach out to someone to teach me in person, but YouTube is also very helpful. I learned how to pray via YouTube, and I had lots of lectures. When I was learning more about Islam, were all YouTube, Spotify, podcasts and that kind of stuff.
Okay, the brother's next. The question was, how do you go about learning more about Islam? So an example could be like learning about Arabic for like Quran recitation.
To be honest, I haven't had that much time since coming to the campus to learn about Islam, but something that really always helps is YouTube. Right? Obviously, finding credible YouTubers is a hard thing, but I feel like if you find one person and then you ask someone with knowledge, like someone who grew up Muslim, like you ask them, okay, who should I watch? Where should I look to get more info? Right? I feel like they would always have the best answers for me. So yeah, I would say YouTube is like the primary resource that I used when first getting into Islam. Another thing would be the brothers I met, right? So I know a lot of knowledgeable brothers here, alhamdulillah, and they've taught me a lot too. So I guess just the community around me, and I guess yeah, just the online resources we have is I guess the best for reverts.
I think we both had a pretty unique case in which, I guess, on the university scene that we reverted before we even met them. Let's say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of our, I guess, our primary education would be through YouTube and those kind of sources. I actually have a question for the audience, really quick. How many of you guys feel as though you're in constant conversation with someone who is new to Islam, or at least close to someone who is new to Islam? Can I get a raise of hands? Okay, I was just curious. There is, I'm going to plug Outreach at URL right now. So there are typically, and I don't know if this is something that is also held at other universities as well. There are typically something that we like to do at URL is that we have a team dedicated to talking to Muslims and integrating them into the community and such, providing opportunities for education. So I think it's a really important thing. Like when you guys are, I think when you're born to Islam, you don't know to what level you're educated, especially when you look to such a high level of education in the shape probably that you're looking up to. But I would say that being born into Islam, if you're surrounded by that, if just kind of that basic level of education gives you the ability to support someone in that reversion as well. And it's really important because a lot of cases nowadays of individuals who revert, and I know some personally who they revert, they don't find any support or education to their community, and from that they learn to lose Islam, right? They find it they're unable to practice their deen, right? So because I think it's a constant thing between all of us that we found a lot of education online, it's just not enough, right? We need those people, I guess new Muslims need those individuals around them who are going to be able to provide that extra support, at least a little bit.
Jazakallah, yeah, community is very important. So the next question that we have is, how do you make dawah to your non-Muslim friends without pressuring them? You don't want to push them in the opposite direction, so it feels like a tricky situation. So from your perspective, how do your friends help with this before you reverted?
Okay, yeah, great question. So I mean, alhamdulillah, like Islam is like a religion of ease. Like you're not supposed to like force anyone. Like your job is basically to only like convey the message. So if they choose to just think that whatever this is, like I don't agree with this, then that's their choice. I mean, I guess kind of like addressing some of the concerns could be a starting point. So this is a big one for me with family. So like currently my brother and I are really like in this Christianity and Islam debate because he's now in his partisan phase. So inshallah, like he'll be Muslim soon. Make dua for him, please. So kind of like understanding their concerns, because everyone has like a different opinion of Islam and a different kind of view and things that they don't maybe like agree with in their head because that's what they think of Islam. So I guess like addressing their concerns one by one, like why do you think that it's like not like Allah doesn't exist, or why do you think that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not a real prophet and things like that. So kind of you can address their key concerns and go from there.
I agree 100% with that point. And I think another thing to add on is a lot of people know, like non-Muslims, surprisingly, it might be surprising, they know a lot less about Islam than you might expect. So like basic things like who we worship and that kind of stuff they might not know. So just like general knowledge, being able to integrate that into like conversations. And then other thing is like actions speak louder than words in a lot of cases. So if you're like embodying a good Muslim, then like that's also dawah.
Wait, let me find it. The question was, how do you make dawah to your non-Muslim friends without pressuring them?
I guess you just have to start off by getting a sense of, how much do they know, right, about Islam. Because, if they're Christian, or if they have background in like the Abrahamic religions, they know a lot of the character stories, etc. I feel like it's more easier to talk to them and connect with them. But if you're talking to people who are, Hindu, etc., right, they don't have much knowledge about Islam like that. So you have to take different approaches with them. And one thing that, I guess one advice I can give is that, some people are really closed off, right? So like if you have friends that are closed off, and they're not openly looking for answers, you can't really give them any answers, right? Like for me, like when I first learned about Islam, and when my friend, became really religious, he would always send me these, Instagram reels, right? I just looked at them, I said, okay, that's cool, and I moved on with my day, right? But then when I was actually curious about Islam and religion and, the purpose of my life, and I looked into these miracles, right? Then I actually saw them for what they were, right? So I feel like it really does depend on the person, but the person has to be willing to, learn and be sincere.
It's a really good question, because I think in the beginning, I don't know if you had this as well. You discover Islam and suddenly you're like, yes, I got all the answers. You start arguing with all the people around you. And I think that the biggest thing of how I try to adapt away from that is looking at the Prophet ﷺ, that a lot of his dawah was done through the fact that his character was so strong before Islam came, right? Or I guess he was given revelation, and that was a big case for the people around him, right? That people were able to observe him in his daily life and understand, like, through that he was genuine, that he didn't have an ulterior motive for trying to preach what he preached. So I think that honestly turns out to be the most important thing a lot of the time. You do get the case. I think in Christianity they call them Bible bashers, where it's just people that constantly force their ideas upon you. I think sometimes you see conversations that is into that as well. So yeah, I think definitely a change of character is noticeable through Islam, and properly showing the characteristics of the Prophet. That it's a big form of dawah.
Question on dawah and helping new Muslims. I really hope someone answers 60 minutes. Okay, last question, and we're short on time, so try to keep it to like a minute maybe. This one's really important though. Okay, what do you guys think about like terms such as like revert and convert, and in general, are there any things that Muslims do or say that make you feel uncomfortable?
I think it's an okay term to use. It doesn't really, it didn't really affect me being called a revert coming back. It does, I guess in a sense, it could make someone feel, different than others, right? Like if you use the term new Muslim, or, just Muslim in general rather than the revert, I guess it would allow them to feel more involved with the people, right? They don't feel like, okay, they're just coming into this. What was the second part?
Anything that people do that makes you feel uncomfortable?
I guess I haven't really had many experiences where I've, felt uncomfortable, but I do know a couple of friends. And the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of people are that consider it reverts. I've heard stories of, people telling them about, their tattoos, or, not having a big beard already, or, some other things that are expected for Muslims, right? So I feel like just some people can take it a bit too far and be too, I guess, aggressive on new Muslims and expect them to change right away, when, in fact, it's a long journey. Yeah.
I think there's nothing really that particularly angry or upsets when anyone says this, but I think there is beauty to the language that we're using. We should choose our words carefully. I think I've also started to adapt my language. I think the new Muslim is a nice way to call somebody that has embraced Islam, and then also, other than reverted, I think embracing Islam is also a more elegant, a beautiful way to talk about that passage of I guess, embracing Islam.
Yeah, I agree with the brothers' responses. Just one thing to add on is like everyone's kind of on their own journey. So there's like I've heard stories of you have reverts who kind of like they accept Islam, but then maybe they have doubts or like they're just not starting to pray right away. They don't start wearing hijab, and I feel like there could be like I haven't experienced this or like I haven't seen people who've done this, but like kind of online stories, there could be people who are like really judgmental of that and like judging new converts to Islam more than kind of like born Muslims. So. Yeah, but I haven't experienced anything negative, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, I haven't experienced anything negative. I know, like, when I first came to the university, I met a lot of the MSA community, and they didn't know many reverts at all, so I was the only one a lot of them knew. So I would often be introduced as, like, oh, like, this is Naya, the revert, or this is like, Naya, the convert, which I didn't mind personally because it was a conversation topic, and it's a lot of the way I met a lot of people I know now. So, alhamdulillah, it was beneficial for me, but it could be bothersome for some people if they think otherwise.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair. Thank you guys, the audience, for coming and listening. Thank you guys for answering these questions so beautifully. Jazakumullah khair. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.